Today we are going to discuss questions from thermodynamics and thermochemistry. Thermodynamics and thermochemistry. The first question, which one of the following equations is heat of reaction is equal to heat of formation? Heat of reaction is equal to heat of formation. Heat of formation means 1 mole of compound must form from constituent elements. 1 mole of compound must form from constituent elements. Now, when you take the option, say A, these are not constituent elements here. Option B, these are all constituent elements only. So, option B is correct. When you are going to option C here, it is not the element. So, 1 mole of compound CO2 must form from constituent elements only. It is not an element here. And in the case of N2O3 also, O3 is not the element, oxygen is the element, O2 must be element. Therefore, heat of formation stands for 1 mole of a compound must form from constituent elements only. Then only we can take it as heat of formation. So, option B is correct. So, option B in this case. Then, option B here. Simultaneous adsorption of gas on solid surface is exothermic in nature. Simultaneous adsorption of gas on solid surface is exothermic in nature. When you say adsorption of the gas is adsorption is spontaneous, then definitely for a spontaneous process, delta G value must be negative. And when you say exothermic process there, delta H value must be also negative. When you're saying spontaneous adsorption, so adsorption of any gas on a solid surface, so gaseous system is settling on the surface of the solid substance, implies that the randomness of the gaseous system gets reduced because it is striking the solid surface. Therefore, delta S value must be also negative in the case of adsorption. Now the options, delta H of system, delta H increases, not correct here because delta H is negative, should decrease there now. Delta S increases, again not correct. Delta S decreases, which is because negative value it is a, and delta G will be negative value for us now. So a spontaneous adsorption, spontaneous process means delta G negative. Adsorption means settling on the surface, thereby entropy gets reduced. Exothermic means delta H value must be negative. Therefore, the answer is option C we have. So, option is C in this case. Then, the vaporization enthalpy is 30 kilojoules. Vaporization enthalpy is 30 kilojoules. And then, vaporization is given as 75. The entropy of vaporization is given as 75 joule per mole per Kelvin. Find the temperature of the vapor at 1 atmosphere. Here, we should know relation between the vaporization and enthalpy of vaporization. So, we know that delta S value is equal to, it is delta H by temperature. Delta H by temperature. Therefore, we require temperature. Hence, temperature T will be equal to, it is delta H by delta S. We need to see that all are having same units. Delta H is given as 30 into 10 to the power of 3 because units will be in joules, by vaporization is given as 75. That's the entropy of vaporization is given as, entropy of vaporization is given as 75, and simplifying this we are going to get a value of 400 Kelvin. So answer is A. So delta S is equal to delta H by T, therefore T is equal to delta H by delta S, therefore answer is 400 Kelvin, which is equal to option A we have. Then comes option A here. Next, the direct conversion of A to B is difficult, hence it is carried out by following path. Is carried out by the following path, where delta S from A to C, delta S from A to C is given, delta S from C to D, it is also given to us, and then B to D is also given to us. So we need to find out entropy change from A to B. Entropy change from A to B. See, in a cyclic process, entropy change will be 0. In a cyclic process, entropy change remains 0. Therefore, if you take entropy, the entropy change from A to B, entropy change from A to B plus entropy change from A to B plus entropy change from B to D, from B to D plus entropy change from D to C plus entropy change from C to A. Means in cyclic process the total entropy change must be equal to 0. Now entropy change from A to B is asked. Let us take this value as X plus entropy change from B to D. Entropy change from B to D is given as 20 units plus entropy change from D to C. Entropy change from D to C. C to D is given. We require D to C. Therefore, minus sign will come here. So, minus 30 plus entropy change from C to A. Entropy change from C to A to C is given. So, C to A you require. This also becomes as minus 50 now. But total value is equal to 0. Summation is equal to 0. So, finally, simplifying the value, we are going to get the value X as X is equal to plus 60 we have. X is equal to the value 60 because the minus 30 minus 50 goes to other side. That becomes plus 80 minus 20. The value comes out to be 60. The value comes out to 60. Therefore, the option is B here now. So, the entropy change in a cyclic process. Entropy is a state function. Therefore, in a cyclic process, the value will be equal to 0. Equating it to 0, we get the answer. Next one. Now, for the process H2O liquid changing into H2O gas, the correct set of thermodynamic parameters. For the process H2O liquid becoming H2O gas, the correct set of thermodynamic parameters. When you say the liquid is changing into the gaseous state here, the delta S value, liquid to gas, delta S value must be positive. And see the given set of conditions, 1 bar and 373 Kelvin, no change, implies it is a equilibrium state we can say. Given conditions are equilibrium conditions, thereby delta G value must be equal to 0. So delta G is 0 because the set of conditions are equilibrium conditions and delta S is equal to positive. Therefore, the option A is correct here now. Option A will be correct. Delta G is 0, delta S is equal to positive we have. Excuse me. Then, the heat of neutralization of the reaction NaOH HCl is given as minus 57.1 joule, 57.1, it should be kilojoule per mole. Should be kilojoule per mole. The heat released when 0.25 moles of NaOH is treated with 0.25 moles of HCl. We define heat of neutralization always per 1 gram equivalent of the substance. Means when you take NaOH plus HCl giving rise to NaCl plus H2O, this delta H value which is given to us. So when you take this as 1 gram equivalent, this is also 1 gram equivalent, then delta H value will be equal to minus 57.1. So we define delta H in the case of 1 gram equivalent of substance, that is for heat of neutralization. 1 gram equivalent of NaOH will be 40 grams is equal to 36.5 grams now. And 40 grams is also equal to 1 mole in the case of NaOH is equal to 1 mole in the case of HCl now. So 1 mole and 1 mole if they react, we are going to get here 57.1 kilojoules of heat. Now they are given as 0.25 moles are reacting. Therefore here if it is a 0.25 moles, then what is the amount of heat liberated? So 1 mole gives 57.3, 0.25 moles means 1/4. Let's say 57.1 by 4 is the answer. 57.1 by 4. That is the answer given to us. So answer will be nearly 14.3. Therefore option is C we have 14.3. Option C. Then the species which by definition has a 0 standard molar enthalpy of formation at 298. It should be a 0 standard molar enthalpy. For elements, the standard molar enthalpy is taken as 0. For elements, the standard molar enthalpy is taken as 0. And for bromine, liquid is taken as standard state. For bromine, liquid is taken as standard state. For chlorine gas itself is standard state, for these two are the compounds. No? So only for elements in their standard state, the molar heat of formation is taken as 0. Therefore, answer here is option B. So option is B in this case now. So for bromine, because liquid state we have, so option stands for B for us. Then coming towards 8th one, the amount of heat, say in joules, for isothermal reversible expansion. Isothermal reversible expansion for of 1 mole of ideal gas, from initial pressure to a 2 bar to final pressure of 0.2 bar at a constant temperature of 273 Kelvin is. So it is isothermal reversible expansion. They have taken 1 mole of ideal gas from initial pressure of 2 bar to final pressure of 2 bar. So now here we have a formula for work done. So work done is equal to minus 2.303 nRT log of, it will be P1 by P2 we have. So which is equal to substitution minus 2.303 into, now number of moles given are 1 mole here. Value of R, let us take it as 8.314. Temperature is given as 273 is equal to 273 Kelvin. Into it is log of P1 by P2 we have. Log P1 by P2. So P1 is given as initial pressure is 2 by P2 is given as 0.2 we have. So 2 by 0.2. That is to say log 10. Log 10 is equal to 1, which is equal to minus, it is 2.303 into 1 into 8.314 we have into 273 now. This value comes out to be minus 5227 joules. It is equal to work done in the process. But they are asking us what is the amount of heat given. What is the amount of heat here? We need to apply here first law of thermodynamics. Then applying the first law of thermodynamics here, delta E will be equal to Q plus W we have. Q plus W we have. And then isothermal process here. Therefore delta E will be equal to 0. Therefore 0 is equal to Q. W is found to be minus, it is 5227 we have. Therefore value of Q will be equal to 5227. Hence answer is option A we have. So answer is option A. So we found out first of all work done applying the formula minus 2.303 nRT log P1 P2. We simplified, we got the value minus 5227. It is a work done in the process, but they are asking us amount of heat. Therefore applying first law of thermodynamics, delta E is equal to Q plus W. Delta E is equal to 0 because it isothermal process. Delta E becomes 0, Q plus W. W we found out it to be minus 5227 joules. And therefore finally Q comes out to be 5227 with positive sign we have. So therefore answer is option A. Option A we have. Then comes 9th one, the enthalpy change for a reaction does not depend upon. Enthalpy change means delta H value is independent of. First one, independent of. Let us take physical states of reactants and product depends upon these conditions because it is an extensive property, depends upon physical states of reactants, and use of different reactants for same product also it changes here, and nature of intermediate steps here now. So Hess law states that whatever may be the number of steps, the value is always independent. Whether the reaction takes place in one step or in several steps, total change in enthalpy always remains same. So it is independent of nature of intermediate steps in the reaction. Means option must be C, and difference in the initial or final temperature involved in the substances. So it depends upon even option D also. Depends upon the physical states of reactants, products using different reactants and even temperatures also. Is independent of number of steps which is involved. So therefore option is C. So 9th one option comes out to be C for us. Then next one, that is in an irreversible process taking place at a constant temperature and pressure. So T and P are constant here, in which only pressure volume work is being done. The change in Gibbs energy and change in entropy satisfy the criteria. Change in entropy and change in free energy satisfy the criteria. In a process for a process taking place, always delta G, always dG value must be negative. For any process taking place, dG will be always negative. And when you say at constant temperature, means definitely delta H value must be also equal to 0. So here dG is negative. So dG is negative value. Delta H is equal to 0. That implies ds must be always greater than 0. ds must be greater than 0. This comes from the delta G is equal to delta H minus, we can take it as T delta S. Differentiating, we are going to get the given expression there now. So because the process takes place, dG is negative, and because temperature is constant there, delta H is equal to 0, and therefore it followed by delta S must be always more than 0. So ds more than 0 we have, and delta G will be less than 0, negative value. So option is B. Then comes, consider the reaction at 300 Kelvin H2 plus Cl2 giving rise to 2HCl. Delta H naught is given. Enthalpy change is given to us. If 2 moles of H2 completely react with 2 moles of H2 to form 4 moles of HCl, what is the value of delta U for the reaction? They are asking us internal energy change, and they have given us enthalpy of the reaction. They have given us enthalpy of the reaction there. Now here, in this reaction, delta N value is equal to 0 because 2 moles of products are there and we have 2 moles of reactants. Therefore, for the reaction, delta N value will be equal to 0. Delta N is equal to 0, that is for 1 mole of reaction involved, but the reaction says 2 moles of Cl2 are involving, so therefore delta N value will be equal to 2. Now here for 2 moles, now the complete formula, that is to say delta H is equal to delta U plus it is RT delta N. It is RT delta N, and there are 2 moles. The 2 moles here now. So therefore delta U value should be equal to, delta H is given as 185. So 185 will come for 1 mole of system there, and when delta N is equal to 0 for 1 mole, it involves 2 moles here. Delta N will be equal to 2 for us. Therefore the value of delta U will be equal to 2 into it is minus 185, which comes out to be minus 370 we have. Minus 370 is not given, so therefore option must be none of these we have. So for 1 mole of HCl formation, delta N is equal to 0 there. 1 mole of HCl formation, delta N is equal to 0. When the equation involves more number of moles here, delta N value also changes there, and therefore delta U is equal to 2 into minus 185. Hence the value is equal to minus 370, which is not given. Therefore answer is none of these we have. None of these. Then next one, the ideal gas expands. In a volume from 10 power minus 3, it should be 10 to the power of minus 3 to 10 to the power of minus 2. 10 to the power of minus 3, 10 to the power of minus 2, 10 to the power of minus 2. At 300 Kelvin, against a constant pressure of 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square, then the work done is equal to, here to 10 to the power of minus 3, 10 to the power of minus 2. Volume should be decreasing from lesser to higher volume there. 10 to the power of minus 3 must be given here. So now the basic formula will be W is equal to minus, it is a P delta V we have, minus P delta V, which is equal to minus P delta V. Pressure is given as 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square, and then volume, initial volume and final volume changes we have 10 to the power of minus 2 V2, and then V1 is 10 to the power of minus 3 we have. So simplification, we are going to get value minus 900 kilojoules we have, minus 900 kilojoules. So option is D we have. Applying direct formula, work done is equal to minus P delta V we have, and delta V here the volume is equal to 10 to the power of minus 3 to 10 to the power of minus 2 we have. Volume has to increase, it should be lesser value. So it's only print error here. So minus 3 to 10 to the power of minus 2 we have. So answer is equal to minus 900 kilojoules we have. Then so answer is option D we have. The enthalpies of combustion of carbon and carbon monoxide are given to us as minus 393.5 and minus 283 kilojoules per mole respectively. The enthalpy of formation of carbon monoxide is enthalpy of formation of carbon monoxide. They are given the combustions of carbon as well as carbon monoxide, asking us the enthalpy of formation of carbon monoxide. Then let us write the equations here. So enthalpy of combustion of carbon will be C plus O2 giving rise to CO2. This enthalpy is given as minus 393.5. They were also given as the value of carbon monoxide combustion. So that is to say CO plus half O2 giving rise to CO2. This is also given to us, and enthalpy of this is equal to minus 283 kilojoules per mole we have. When you subtract one from the other, when you are subtracting one from the other, then CO goes to other side, CO2 gets cancelled here now. C plus it is half O2 giving rise to CO here, and then delta H will be equal to 393.5 plus 283. The value comes out to be 110.5. Therefore, heat of formation of carbon monoxide is equal to minus 110.5. Option is B here now. So we wrote the equations given to us. Enthalpy of combustion of carbon, enthalpy of combustion of CO. We subtracted one from the other and we got the heat of formation of carbon monoxide. Option is equal to minus 110.5. 13th one. Sorry, minus 110.5 we got. Then 14th one, the enthalpy change for the following processes are listed below. So Cl2 to 2Cl minus, nothing but here bond enthalpy of chlorine is given to us. Then bond enthalpy of iodine is given. Then bond enthalpy of ICl is given. I2 solid to I2 gas means they are given a sublimation enthalpy of iodine there. Given that standard states of iodine chlorine are I2 solid, I2 gas, the standard enthalpy of formation of ICl. Enthalpy of formation of ICl is being asked. Given the standard states are I2 solid and chlorine will be gaseous state we have. So here we need to find out enthalpy change from bond enthalpies. From bond enthalpies you can find out the enthalpy of reaction, and formula will be delta H of reaction will be equal to, it is a bond enthalpy of reactants, minus it will be bond enthalpy of products. It's a basic equation we have, and we require enthalpy of formation of HCl is required. We require enthalpy of formation, ICl is required. It implies that, so we should get iodine here. Iodine should be in the gaseous state here, iodine solid, plus it is chlorine, gaseous state, giving rise to ICl in the gaseous state now. That is half here, half here. This delta H value is required to us. What is the value of this delta? That is the enthalpy of formation of ICl then. So they are given a sublimation enthalpy of iodine. So iodine first of all should be changed into gaseous state, then only should break the bond present in that. Already chlorine the gaseous state we have. Therefore delta H value is equal to half of enthalpy of sublimation of iodine, means it is iodine solid to iodine gas we have sublimation, plus it will be half of enthalpy of iodine, that is molecule we have. Up to here iodine enthalpy, plus it is half of enthalpy of chlorine molecules. Up to here reactants we have, minus it is enthalpy of I and Cl we have. Enthalpy of ICl. Now substituting the values here, which is equal to, so here 62.76 by 2 plus 151 by 2. Up to here iodine value plus chlorine value is 242.3 by 2. Chlorine value minus ICl value is 211.3 we have 211.3. So simplifying everything, finally we are going to get plus 16.8. We are going to get plus 16.8 upon simplification. 16.8 upon simplification. So the answer is option C we have. Option C is the answer for this. So plus 16.8. Then next one. Assuming water vapor is an ideal gas, the internal energy change delta U when 1 mole of water is vaporized at 1 bar pressure and 100 degrees Celsius. Given that molar enthalpy of vaporization at 1 bar and 373 is given as 41 kilojoules. Given as 41 kilojoules we have. So here the formula, that is to say H2O liquid enthalpy of vaporization is given as H2O, the gaseous state we have, H2O liquid to gaseous state. And here delta N value is equal to 1. Delta N value is equal to 1. Now applying the formula, delta H is equal to delta U plus it is RT delta N we have, RT delta N. Delta H is equal to, it is 41, it is minus here because minus 1 there, 8.314 into 10 to the power of minus 3 value of R into T is 373 we have. So simplifying this, we are going to get value 37.9. That is 37.9. The option is option A we have. 37.9 is option A here. Delta N value we found out. We have taken the formula delta H is equal to delta. Today we will discuss objective questions from P block, that is 13th and 14th group elements. First one, the incorrect statement about AlCl3. Incorrect statement about AlCl3. Achieve stability by forming dimer. So it exists as Al2Cl6. Existing as Al2Cl6. Thereby the aluminum forms 4 bonds in the structure, hence gets stability. In acidified aqueous solution it forms octahedral structure, is also correct only. In a complex with acidified water, 3s orbital is used. So aluminum will be using 3s orbitals for complex formation to achieve sp3d2 hybridization. It has involved 3s orbitals there. Hybridization involved in the complex formation with acidified water is sp3. It is not sp3, it is sp3d2. It is sp3d2 hybridization. Therefore, incorrect statement is option D we have. So it achieves stability by forming dimer, because in dimeric structure aluminum can form altogether 4 bonds. In acidified aqueous solution it forms octahedral structure, that is also true. And then it uses S3s orbital, actually it uses 3s orbital to involve in sp3d2 hybridization, and a complex hybridization is sp3d2 but not sp3. So option is D we have. Then so option is D. Then second question, which of the following columns and mark the appropriate option? Columns and mark the appropriate option. Boron fibers, so we need to uses they are asking us. Boron fibers are used as a bulletproof vest. Borax used in heat resistant glasses. Aluminium used in transport industry because it is a very light material. So it's basically a structural metal for aircrafts or airships. That way it is used for transport industry. And carbon black used in a filler in automobile industries. That is in tires it is used in automobile industries. So carbon fibers, bulletproof, borax, heat resistant glass, aluminium, transportation industry, carbon black, filler in automobile tires. Therefore, the option matching these four are option B. So A is 2, boron fibers bulletproof. B is 1, borax heat resistant. C is 4, aluminium transport industry. And D is 3, that is D is carbon black used in filler in automobile industries. So option is B here now. So option B. Then the elements having maximum and minimum melting points among the 13th group elements. So if you see the boron, the first element, is having crystalline structure, very higher melting point in 13th group, and gallium exists as simple Ga2 molecules. Therefore, gallium has very low melting point. So therefore, the maximum value is for boron because of crystalline structure, and gallium least because of it is a simple Ga2 molecule. So option is, so there should be maximum and minimum values. Option C we have. So option C, boron and then gallium. So C is the answer. The correct statement about orthoboric acid. Orthoboric acid is strong monobasic acid. It is not correct. It is a weak monobasic acid. It is a weaker acid, not stronger acid. It is not a proton donor, but weaker Lewis acid. This is correct option. And then tribasic is not tribasic, it is only monobasic in nature, and then it's harmful. Let us see the reaction there. So that is boron or orthoboric acid or boron hydroxide plus water if you take. It accepts electron pair, means basically Lewis acid, and then that donates proton. So not a proton donor, it doesn't donate its proton, it is giving the proton of water molecule. So basically Lewis acid, so weaker acid, but not proton donor, but weaker Lewis acid. So option is B we have. Then TlI3 soluble ionic compound in aqueous medium will be TlI3. So thallium plus 1 state is more stable because of inert pair effect. So when TlI3 dissolves and is in water, we get Tl plus 1 and then it will be I3 minus 1. Tl plus 1 is stable because of its inert pair effect. So the compound should be Tl plus 1 and I3 minus. So option is D. Option D we have. So it is D here. Then the number of oxygen atoms shared per SiO4 tetrahedron in two-dimensional sheet structures, then cyclic silicates, then single as well as single strand chain silicates. Single strand chain silicates, one should know the structures of these things. Now when you take single strand chain silicates, the silicate structure comes in this form. It extends like this. So therefore, these are oxygen atoms. The oxygen atoms of silicate units. The dot stands for silicon atom now. So if you take here silicate unit, these two are shared by others. Similarly, these two are shared by others now. So in a single strand chain silicates, each silicate shares altogether two oxygen atoms now. When you take cyclic silicates, let us take cyclic structure. You have taken a trimer here. These are all oxygen atoms, oxygen atom and silicon here. So if we take one unit here, let us take this silicate unit, the top one. This atom is shared here now. If you take this silicate unit, these two atoms are being shared. So when you take any silicate unit, two atoms are being shared here now. Here also two atoms are being shared. In cyclic also, in chain also we have seen two atoms are being shared. When it comes to sheet type of silicates, so one straight chain like this, then One more should be added here, which can be called as double chain silicates. To get sheet here, add one more at the bottom, and so on and so forth here. So when you take here the atom in the middle, for example this one, it is sharing altogether 3 atoms. So 3 atoms of silicate units are shared in the case of 2-dimensional sheet silicate. So here 3 are being shared here, remaining are 2, and then 2 are being shared there now. So therefore option is D, that is 3, 2 and 2 we have. So 2-dimensional sheet, 3 are being shared, cyclic as well as a single chain, 2 and 2 are being shared in these 2 cases. Next one. The statement which is false among the following, now. Silicon carbide has 3-dimensional structure with each silicon and carbon being tetrahedrally surrounded by 4 atoms of other kind. Actually, silicon carbide and diamond have similar structures. So silicon carbide SiC and diamond have same structure, similar structures here. In diamond, all of them are carbon atoms. In silicon carbide, we have silicon and carbon. So that way, each silicon is surrounded by 4 carbon atoms, and each carbon is surrounded by 4 silicon atoms in silicon carbide. So structure is similar. And carbon can form CS double bond because carbon is ability to form p pi d pi bonds. So here carbon cannot form d pi bonds because carbon doesn't have vacant or else d orbitals in that. So it can form only, carbon can form only p pi d pi bonds, or it can form p pi bonds. It cannot form d pi bonds. Boron nitride structure is similar to that of graphite structure. Both are similar in nature, and graphite conducts electricity because of availability of delocalized pi electron. This is also correct option. So graphite a good conductor. Boron, nitride, graphite have similar type of structures, and silicon carbide, each silicon surrounded by 4 carbon atoms and each carbon surrounded by 4 silicon atoms. And carbon cannot form d pi multiple bonds. It can form only p pi multiple bonds because carbon doesn't have vacant d orbitals. Therefore answer is option C we have. So option B, that it cannot form d pi multiple bonds. A white powder insoluble in water but soluble in concentrated sulfuric acid. On dilution the solid reprecipitates but dissolves again on adding alkali. What is that white powder? White powder insoluble in water, not soluble in water, but soluble in concentrated sulfuric acid. Again on dilution, the solid reprecipitates but dissolves again when adding alkali. Let us see the reactions here once. That is, when you take SnO2, if you add here sulfuric acid, H2SO4 if you add here, it forms tin sulfate, that is SnSO4 taken twice plus H2O. This tin sulfate on dilution here, that is when you add water here, so plus water here, again we can see the formation of SnO2 and H2SO4 is being formed here. So reprecipitation takes place. SnO2, if we add alkali for this one now, it forms a stannate formation takes place. That will be K2SnO3 plus H2O. So again dissolves in the potassium hydroxide there now. So the option is SnO2 is being formed here now. That is option is B answer here. Then ninth one, which of the following statement is incorrect about elements of group 14? Group 14 incorrect. Silicones are polymeric organosilicon compounds, which is correct here. Silicon tetrafluoride is a tetrahedral structure we have. Pb plus 2 less stable than Sn plus 2. Actually Pb plus 2 is more stable than Sn plus 2 because of inert pair effect. Pb forms more stable plus 2 ions than Sn forming plus 2 ions. And Mg2C3 is an allyl because on hydrolysis this gives rise to propane molecule which is CH3C and then CH we have. It forms propane molecule. So Mg2C3 is a allyl molecule being propane. So answer is option C. That is Pb plus 2 is more stable than Sn plus 2 because Pb due to inert pair effect formation of plus 2 is more stable. Then option is C. Then the statements that are true of silicates among the following. Silicates among the following. Each silicon atom has four SiO bonds surrounded tetrahedrally. Because of availability of d orbitals, in silicon, water molecules can coordinate with silicon and bring about hydrolysis. Actually, silicates are highly stable. They cannot be hydrolyzed easily. SiO bonds are strong, hence silica is inert and having higher melting points. And each oxygen atom in silica is shared by 4 silicons and then tetrahedral structure. Let us see the structure of silica and then silicate unit. Silicate unit has SiO4 structure. It comes in this way. SiO4 structure. Silicates cannot undergo hydrolysis because of this stability. When you take the structure of silica, each silicon is surrounded by 4 oxygen atoms. Each silicon surrounded by 4 oxygen atoms. 4 oxygen atoms. Again, oxygen atom is surrounded by 2 silicon atoms there now. Surrounded by 2 silicon atoms. It goes on in this way. So each oxygen surrounded by 2 silicon units, each silicon surrounded by 4 units of oxygen we have. Therefore, answer 1, 3 we have. So answer is 1, 3. Which of the following is true? Each silicon surrounded by 4 oxygen atoms in silicates which are tetrahedrally bonded. And then third one, SiO bond is very strong and therefore is having higher melting point. And silicates will not undergo any hydrolysis, and each silicon in silica shared by 4 silicon atoms, each oxygen in silica shared by 4 oxygen atoms is not correct. Each silicon shared by 4 oxygen atoms, not each oxygen atom shared by 4 silicon. Therefore option is 1, 3. 1, 3. Then X reacts with NaOH solution to form Y and H2. Aqueous solution of Y is heated at 323 Kelvin on passing carbon dioxide gas into it, and it forms Na2CO3 and Z. Z were formed. When Z is heated to 1200 degrees Celsius, Al2O3 is formed. What are X, Y, Z? Once again, X reacts with NaOH forming Y and H2. Aqueous solution of Y heated to 323 Kelvin and passing carbon dioxide gas into it, Na2CO3 and Y are formed. These two are formed. Again, Y heated to 1200 Celsius, it forms Al2O3. Now here, Z on heating is giving Al2O3. It should be alumina only. It should be aluminum hydroxide to form Al2O3. Therefore, the Z must be aluminum hydroxide. So the compounds must be totally aluminum, and then it must dissolve in aqueous NaOH. So we know that aluminum dissolves in aqueous NaOH, and finally it should be aluminum hydroxide. Let us see the reactions now. That is, aluminum dissolves in NaOH. And then it forms NaAlO2 and liberates H2 gas. This NaAlO2 and they can pass carbon dioxide gas through a solution of NaAlO2. Then it forms Na2CO3 plus aluminum hydroxide. It forms aluminum hydroxide. This is Z now. This aluminum hydroxide, if you are heating it strongly, we are going to get alumina, Al2O3 plus it is H2O. So aluminum dissolved in NaOH forms alumina, forms sodium metaaluminate. Sodium metaaluminate, you are passing carbon dioxide gas through that. we are going to get aluminum hydroxide plus sodium carbonate. Aluminum hydroxide on heating again gives us alumina. Therefore, the option must be D then now. So that is aluminium dissolving in NaOH forming sodium metaaluminate plus carbon dioxide gas forming carbon dioxide plus aluminium hydroxide. This on heating gives us again alumina. So answer is option D. Then, which of the following statements is incorrect statement? Incorrect statement. Boron hydroxide partially reacts with water and forming H3O plus and BOH taken 4 times minus behaves as a weak acid. Then boron hydroxide behaves as a strong monobasic acid in the presence of sugars and this acid can be titrated against NaOH solution using phenolphthalein indicator. Boron hydroxide does not donate proton, hence does not form any salt with NaOH. Boron hydroxide reacts with NaOH forming NaBOH taken 4 times. Let us see the reactions one by one. So first one, boron hydroxide is reacting with water. So when you take boron hydroxide reacting with water, giving rise to, it forms BOH taken 4 times and then it forms H plus formation takes place. Implies that first statement is correct. Then second statement, boron hydroxide behaves a monobasic acid presence of sugars, strong monobasic acid. So in the presence of all cis diols when you take, presence of cis diols, the strength of the acid is increased and sugar has more number of hydroxyl groups. Therefore, in the presence of sugar, it acts as a strong acid. And B, third option, boron hydroxide does not donate proton, hence does not react with NaOH. Actually, boron hydroxide means that is orthoboric acid reacts with NaOH and then forms a salt, that is BaOH taken 4 times it forms minus plus Na plus, means it can form a salt. So that is an incorrect statement. Boron hydroxide reacts with NaOH and forming NaBOH taken 4 times. So wrong answer is option C now. Does not donate proton, hence does not form a salt. Actually it forms a salt with NaOH, that is NaBOH taken 4 times we have. So option is C. C option is correct here. Then the reactivity of borazole is greater than that of the benzene. Reactivity of borazole is greater than that of the benzene. Since the borazole is a polar compound. Borazole is a polar compound because there is a bonding between nitrogen and then boron. Hence borazole is reactive in nature. So borazole is a polar compound. Therefore that is reactive in nature. Then comes so option is B we have is a polar compound. Aqueous ammonia used as a precipitating reagent for aluminium ions as aluminium hydroxide rather than aqueous sodium hydroxide. So aqueous ammonia is used as a precipitating reagent for aluminium ions as aluminium hydroxide rather than aqueous solution of NaOH. Here aqueous solution of NaOH will dissolve aluminium hydroxide precipitation. That is to say, if you are using NaOH solution in the place of ammonia, the precipitate aluminium hydroxide formed will start dissolving in it. It dissolves here and then it forms AlOH taken 4 times. So therefore, we cannot use sodium hydroxide, we cannot use NaOH as a precipitating reagent for aluminium hydroxide because it starts dissolving that. NaOH forms, this is the correct option. NaOH forms, this is not correct option. So here option is, which of the following is not correct. So therefore answer is option D, option C we have. It forms. So Na plus is a weak base, then NaOH strong, very strong base, then NaOH forms this one. This is a correct option here. In that situation, this is going to be a correct answer because it's forming ALOH taken for. Not that these statements are not correct. The statements are correct only, but in this situation, this is a correct answer for us. So answer is option C. Then among the halides, the order of Lewis acidic strength is, among the chlorides which are given to us, BCl3 will be greater than AlCl3, will be greater than GaCl3, and greater than, it is going to be InCl. This is the order among the chlorides we have now, because they do not form back bonding. So what is BCl3 greater than AlCl3, GaCl3, and InCl3 we have. So answer is option A in this case we have. So option is A here. Thank you.